everybody. Welcome back to another Dice Tower review. My name is Z Garcia.
I'm Joey Evans.
I'm Camilla Cleghorn.
Today we're taking a look at the latest, maybe, Zombicide edition, expansion, version, Undead or Alive. Western Zombicide is basically what we're looking at here.
It's
Okay?
what we've always wanted.
It's what I've been waiting on. Zombicide set in the Old West with the survivors being cowboys and ranchers and, you know, folks of the Old West. And, of course, the zombies being zombies. But also, like, undead cows and stuff.
Oh,
And bears. I like the bear.
Bears.
Bear.
what
On the
have you.
bull with the big
that
horns.
kind of
Are there
thing.
bears in there?
There's
The
a bear.
expansion has a bear.
Oh.
Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and show you how this works, show you some of the new ideas on the table. If you're familiar with previous Zombicides, there's still some things here that you might want to check out just to see, again, the evolution of some ideas that they've had.
Yep.
And then we'll be right back, and we'll discuss our thoughts. Here we go.
Partner.
So here we've gone ahead and set up a fake game, basically already in progress, just to give you an idea of how the general flow goes. I'll briefly go over that. I'm mainly going to be focusing on what's different from the other Zombicide games in Undead or Alive here. So let's go ahead and take a look at the breakdown on the back of the rulebook here. Player phase, zombie phase, end phase. The player phase, each survivor, each player is going to take 3 actions, 4 if they have leveled up, and possibly some free actions. And those actions you can use to move one zone from one place here, like Jeb can go from here, delineated by these edges. You can move in here. You can move into buildings as well. You can search once per turn in a building, except for townsfolk, which are a special categorization, and we'll come back to that a little bit. You can reorganize a trade with another player. You can do a combat action, a melee or a ranged weapon, and I will come back to the way firing off a loud weapon goes. You can take or activate an objective. These objectives on the map are pre-printed on there, so when you set up the game, unless the rulebook says otherwise for the scenario, you simply take one of these and put it on all of those spots, all right? And you can also make noise, which is placing the bang token in your survivor zone. This is the bang token here, which has 2 sides, bang and boom, and I will explain how that mechanism works again in just a little bit. Or you can also just skip actions. You can do nothing. Then we get to the zombie phase where they attack. If they're with you, then they move towards the place towards survivors they can see. If they can't see anybody, then the loudest place. And then we spawn. And there's plenty I need to talk about when it comes to spawning as well. Then the end phase is more about the noise reduction and passing the start player token, going to the next round. All right. So let me go ahead and talk about a few different things here. Moving in the game. The buildings, these locations, have no doors that need to be set, that need to be dealt with whatsoever. There are no doors in this game that are a physical component. There are obviously still doors, and on your turn, if I am here and I move into a building, the main thing I need to do is that building's corpse pile will now start spawning. So there's no spawn immediately or anything like that, but you do take a token and you'll set it in that space as soon as that building has been entered. And when we spawn later on, that is going to be one of the places in which we'll draw a card and spawn into it. You can turn those off by using a holy water card here, where at range 0 or 1, you can splash holy water on it. You will flip it face down to know that the building has been breached and already got a spawn point, but now it's inactive. You can also use holy water on the other locations that spawn to move them to this starting location so that there will be more spawns there, but they're coming from the same location. All right. So that's it for spawning in buildings and how to deal with all of that. As far as the noise goes, whenever a player uses a weapon that makes noise, which will be marked like so right there, then the bang token is going to move to it. So for example, Jeb again here, shooting into that area, he is going to roll 3 dice. He hits on 3s or better. He's going to do that. And that is plenty of hits. So he eliminates both of these. He'll level up, as he normally would in every other Zombicide. And then he's going to move this bang token, because that is noisy, to the location where he fired. If later on somebody else makes noise that is equivalent, so another bang symbol, then it'll move to that player. If ever some weapons and dynamite have a boom symbol, if that happens, then you put this wherever that was triggered on its boom side. And any bangs now will no longer pull this away. So it's 2 levels of noise, basically. The bang being basic, boom being tremendously loud. Only another boom would pull this away. And at that point, then, again, if you go away and you just shoot your normal gun, it's going to stick around. The end of the round, this is going to, when we're fully done during the end phases, if it's on the boom side, it flips over to the bang side and stays there. If it was this, like this, it'll go to wherever there are the most people. So you can choose if there's a tie for that. So that's how the noise is dealt with. So one singular token denotes where the zombies are focusing their attention if they can't see anybody. You'll see that as far as spawning, there's also sometimes zones here which are for abominations, abomination spawns. What that means is if an abomination comes out and you spawn that wherever you were meant to be spawning. So like right now, I would, when it's time to spawn baddies, I would start with the 1 spot there, flip over, okay, extra activations. There's extra activations for the different guys. There's runners here, which are the faster guys, walkers, brutes. Those are the 3 different types. But then there's also the abominations. So the abominations, of which there are quite a few in this deck actually, will spawn an abomination. So all the ones on the board already get an extra activation, and then you spawn. In the core set here, there's 1 abomination, this bowler hat fella. And the way it works is, flip over this card, then you draw 1 abomination card from the abomination deck, of which, again, there's only 1 in the core set, and it is, like I said, bowler hat. So let's say I flipped that over for spawning here. He shows up there, and this is active. And that will spawn like any other spawn point until he's eliminated, and this is flipped back face down. He's very hard to eliminate. Normally it'll take dynamite or something like that to get rid of him. But like I said, there's just the 1. Though he does seem to be on the board quite a bit in this game because there are a lot of abomination cards. So he's going to be around plenty of the time. Then I go ahead and talk about balconies. You can see some of these buildings have balconies, which you can enter from the inside room there. And there's another one as well, which again, you go up in there. You can walk to that balcony, and from it, you have line of sight to the entire street that runs parallel and perpendicular to it. So you can see all of it from the balcony, and then you can make your way back inside the building and come down from it. So it's a shooting perch, mainly, to suppress the zombies on the street. And then the other thing is these machines. You can see over here, there are 2 machines. There's a wagon, which has its own actions listed here, how you can move the wagon, how you can get in and out of it. And then the Gatling gun with its own stat line. And this is the Gatling gun there. Sometimes it'll be mounted on the wagon. Sometimes it'll be, the scenario will tell you to put it somewhere, what have you, okay? And it'll have, like I said, you can go there and utilize it to really shoot down some zombies with it. It's very powerful. Okay, so 2 more things I want to talk about here. I want to talk about the train, and I want to talk about the bounty weapons, and that'll give you a lot of the different ideas that are in this edition of Zombicide. So the way the train works is some of the scenarios will have this train running through the track here. And they will have specific rules for how the train shows up, when it shows up, all of that. But the idea is that this train might come into town. If it does and there's anybody in its way, by the way, it'll like wreck these guys. So they will definitely be getting crushed. This is one region right here. And as the train comes in, what you do is you remove this piece and you'll put in the locomotive. And now the locomotive here is going to split these into different spaces. So you can jump through it in this case, as you can see here. But these are now 2 different city spaces. The players can, if they were there, choose kind of where they ended up. The zombies get pummeled into. And so it'll be every round normally when the train comes into town, it advances 1 at the end of the round. So this will be its first appearance. And then for the second one, what you do is you simply move this forward. And then this can flip over and be a train wagon behind it. So it'll show up like so. When that happens again, you just get rid of this one. And now the train has gone. You know, I could have moved this up, but whatever, same idea. And so on, and then as it is leaving, assuming it only had 3 train carts, then you do that, and so on. So you can imagine it basically traversing every time you're going, and splitting up and changing the geography of the map as it's doing so. As well as, like I said, running into things, because it's a giant iron machine. And then lastly, the bounty weapons, which in many scenarios you are going to get the top bounty weapon just for taking an objective, but they also have, on the back of all of these bounty weapons, there is something you can do that if you manage to pull off, you get the bounty weapon. And so, for example, this one here is kill 2 zombies or more in a zone with another survivor and in a single turn. If you manage to do that, you get this weapon. Gain 3 AP or more by killing zombies at range 2 or more in a single turn. This one has gained 10 AP with a dynamite. And you get this bounty weapon. And so they'll have, you know, they'll be a little bit more souped up, have their own stats, their own everything. And the players always have one of these at the top of the deck available that if they manage to do the thing that the game wants them to do, they will acquire that thing. So there you go. That's the general idea. Oh gosh, one more thing I need to talk about is their classifications. So there are different classes of characters. Like, for example, Jeb here is a townsfolk. And so a townsfolk has a special ability. A townsfolk, for example, has that lines of sight are not reduced inside buildings. He knows the town, so he can see inside of buildings farther. And he can search multiple times per turn in buildings. So he doesn't have to do it just once per turn. So that's a townsfolk. There's over here, Carl is a brawler. A brawler begins with more health, for one thing. He has 3 points of health. But also he can spend one action once per turn to rush zombies. So if he's here, he can spend a single action and run in here and have a melee attack on them. So he will charge in there and attack them. There's also gunslingers, and those folks can fan their guns and basically roll a handful of dice while taking a hit to their accuracy. But you can sometimes, for a single action, just go boom, 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 and hopefully eliminate a big group. But you have to get pretty lucky with those dice rolls because your accuracy, like I said, goes way down. And there's, like I said, there's 4 different classes. You can mix and match which ones you're using. And each one has a built-in ability. So there you go. That's going to do it, I think, folks, for the overview here. Hopefully that gives you an idea of what's different, what's going on in this one, how you can kind of expect it to go. And we should go ahead and go back on up and give you some final thoughts. Let's do that.
All right, there we go. So that is what the game looks like on the table. So let's talk about things we liked, things we didn't like, and kind of, again, sort of a soft compare to some of the other editions, okay?
Right.
So new things right off the bat. The classes. There's 4 classes in here. You got the brawlers, the whatever,
Gunslingers.
brawlers,
The
gunslingers, faithful, townsfolk.
That's
Right.
it.
Yep.
And they each have basically a built-in ability. Now, this is nothing necessarily revolutionary. There's been these things in the past where, the level 1 of a character is, rush or whatever. That's kind of like a brawler. You can run up on somebody and punch them. But now there's a class of people that do that.
Yep.
That's cool. The townsfolk being able to search more frequently is a huge deal.
And that kind of
That's
makes
really
sense
big.
thematically. They know the town better. They know where to search for things. I like that.
Yeah.
So that one's a big deal. The faithful being able to lock down a spot and they do not activate. Huge deal. And I think both of those are kind of necessary because of the increased velocity at which bad things happen. In this game, I think there are more of the big bads that show up.
Right. And the faithful can also do holy water, right? They can make water,
They can make water into holy water,
which
is
makes
huge.
sense. Yeah.
And then share that with others as well, right? So they have their ability, but then can trade the items to
Sure.
kind of support other characters.
Is a bit more critical in this version than in other versions in the past.
Yeah, I would say so. So I like the classes. That's cool. Bounty weapons, a stack of weapons that on the back have something you are trying to achieve, and if you do, bam, you have a super weapon.
This I really like, in the fact that before it was just random whoever to get the good stuff. You know, if they're right place, right time.
Right.
This one, you can kind of achieve those objectives to get those. And I did like the balance kind of that brought.
Did you feel like it was too hard to get them though?
Yes, some of them were very hard, like kill the abomination 10 times or something. It was
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah,
And so
not
I
quite,
will say,
but
like, I really liked that, and I did like the kind of the balance of it, because you can
Right.
go for the regular, weapons and searching, that kind of stuff, or really focus on that objective. I liked that balance, but I did think it was a little bit too hard to get them. I
Also,
think.
it robs you of mystery a little bit,
Yeah.
which I don't, I hate that it's
Okay.
like, I know what the weapon is because it tells me right on the back.
That is
Like,
true, yes.
I like that feeling of, what did I find in this old dusty
Right.
crate? Oh my goodness, you know what it
Mom's
is.
shotgun.
See, but I like it because
Yeah.
you can still do the searching. There's still that other deck that you can get, and it still has that. So I think I'm maybe opposite of you, where I liked that because it gave you a little more choice of what you're going to do.
That's fair.
So-
I think it's a good rule, don't get me wrong. I think it's cool having, again, it's like a mini objective, little side quest.
Yeah.
Hey, if you manage to do this, you get a super, special unlock. That's cool.
Yeah, I like that.
This is a big one for me, this next one, noise rules. The noise rules are night and day compared to the previous editions, okay?
Yes.
This easily gives this game like a half a point at least. Boom.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They kind of did the things that we stopped doing a while back. I don't know of anyone that used all the noise tokens. I mean, as a joke, we do when someone fired off his Uzi, we just kind of throw a bunch of them at him and say, here, this is you. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah. But this was one noise token moving around, whatever's the loudest. That makes sense.
Right.
I really like the rule. Yeah, I
I do
like
too.
this. Like, it's
I
a
like it a
single
lot.
token. Where's their attention attracted to?
Right.
Here. Don't
Yeah.
make me be like, I do a noisy action, put one out. I do another act. Oh, wait, I forgot a noise token for that one.
So
Oh,
fiddly.
like you'd forget all the time. Be like, oh wait, I cracked open a door. That's noisy.
Right.
It's all this stuff, and here it's just one token. You move around, done. I
Yeah.
really, really appreciate
Forgetting
that.
is the big thing, that you would forget all the time to the end of the round and say, oh, wait a second, how many times did you fire? How many times? That happened every time.
Right.
That's the least, yeah, I agree. But you can also, I'm now going to do this in the older Zombicide games too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to
I guess you have
retro.
to find a way to make it happen, but
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's a classy way to do it. It's clean. It's much simpler.
Yep.
Yeah.
You want to keep noise rules, fine, but this is how you clean that up.
Yeah, it's definitely just taking that overhead down, that maintenance down, so that you're playing the game more
Yeah.
instead of cleaning the
Right.
game up more and making sure that you double checked everything and you did it all right. It takes that maintenance down.
Yep.
The other one for me then that I gave a big thumbs up to is the new spawning rules inside of buildings and the fact that there are no doors.
That I liked a lot. The no doors thing is a dream, isn't it?
It's wild. You don't have to set up doors. There are no doors anymore. And then the idea of
Yep.
the first time anyone walks in a building, there's a spawn zone in there that turns on. It stays on.
Yep.
You do not have to do the whole, okay, wait, you walked in, point at a room and flip over a spawn card. Okay, next room. Okay, next one.
Yeah.
You just flip that on, it spawns when it spawns, and then if you splash some holy water on it, flip it face down, so we know someone's already been in the building, but the spot is turned off,
Right.
and you're done.
Yeah. And the doors make sense because they're on the board, and you can put them as you open the door, you just drop an open door on it. That's like you're setting up as the game progresses.
Yeah, yeah.
And that just makes sense. It really, some of these changes they make are just almost common sense. I wish we would have thought that before.
Sure,
Yeah, yeah.
sure.
You know, I love that pile of corpses thing.
Yeah, it works
That's
well.
really cool.
I think it's a
It
good
really
idea.
does.
It's very thematic, it's spooky, it works well. I like that. Couple of things that, again, feel free to disagree with me. These are just some things I wrote down here. Things that I didn't like as much. I think because the theme and the setting is this Western setting, which I really like, there's not as much variety with the characters, the player characters. It seems like everybody is the mysterious cowboy guy with a big hat, and hey, look, another guy with a big shotgun.
Yes.
I didn't, you know what I mean? There wasn't as much variety there.
Oh, interesting. I don't think I noticed that. I don't think I had that. Because I think where they did bring in the variety was with the different classes and the different abilities. So I think it felt like they had more personality with the different characters.
Okay.
I agree with that. point that I think that's why I like Black Plague, because there's so much more variety in the fantasy world as far as getting different people like that.
There is that.
So that I do like. One thing is the abomination situation. I learned this a couple editions ago. They used to give you so many different abominations, and I kind of like playing with one or two. Because then you start to focus, like 2.0 had so many different abominations. You'd have to read the rules for this one, and the abominations almost overcomplicated the game, depending on which one showed up. Now, were there different rules as far as the abomination creation?
Well, there's one
time?
abomination in the base game, which is obviously what we're reviewing today. There's one. The rules are largely the same as they've been before.
Yeah.
I do like that there's a new rule in which if you run out of a type of character, it used to be if you ran out of walkers and needed to spawn more walkers, the walkers would activate.
Yes.
That's gone. Now, if you run out of a type of thing, the abomination activates.
I do like that.
That's much
Like that,
better. It's
yeah.
like way less punishing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So no, it's good. I think, but and again, you can add in a couple of abominations if you want to. Now, whenever an abomination spawns, you go to a secondary deck for which abomination. Obviously, in this game, it's just one, so it doesn't matter. But if you buy extra abominations, you can do that. You can just shuffle them into a little secondary deck and spawn from there.
I like. Now, what did you think of the balconies? I never played Invader, so I don't know if the balconies were present there. But I did like that. Any line of sight you have.
I
The
liked it a
balconies are a
lot.
brand new thing as far as I know, and I think it's pretty good. It's
I
pretty
like
good,
that.
yeah.
And then you're also kind of. There's usually one way out of the balcony. So thematically, if you can stay up there as long as possible, but if they take over those stairs down there, you're stuck. You can't come down the stairs.
Yeah.
And certain of them can jump down, right?
Some characters have a special ability where they can leap down, and technically they can leap up. I don't know, but
I really liked the balconies, and I think that goes back to what you were talking about earlier, Joey, where kind of building your team in the beginning is much more important in this. And I think, as you're building that team in the beginning and looking at those classes that they have, and you can be like, okay, we definitely want a gunslinger up there, for example.
Yeah.
So who's gonna be the gunslinger? Great. You take that character, and then we're gonna camp you out in this balcony while we this. So kind of, I think you build that, knowing that that's there, you build that into your strategy and into building your team. And it's something I really, really liked. I like that, you always have that one that has such an expanded line of sight. It just really opened the game up so that you can focus your individual characters on one thing instead of everybody doing a little bit of everything.
yes.
I agree. And what about the train coming through the middle? I mean, I kind of like flipping that and pushing it through, and then all of a sudden you flip to the back, so you've got the car to get into.
Yeah.
I kind of enjoyed that the first couple times I came through town. That was kind of a fun little feeling.
So I have for my negatives, I've actually got the train as one of them because I thought it was...
Spoiler.
It was the slightly fiddly... The rules are slightly fiddly. It's why I have it
The
in my...
rules, okay.
Why I have it in my sort of not as good. So, yeah, not as much variety. The next one then would be the train rules. I like it thematically. I think it's cool. I appreciate that being there. I just thought it was a little fiddly. Like when you have to read, when I have a scenario with a train coming through, I'm like, oh, wait, I have these pages and I need to reread. You know what I mean?
I agree. Like, what if the train hits you? What if this happens? There was a lot of different. Can you get through there? There was a lot of things you had to interpret. I think.
Yeah, and it moves at the end of your activation is when the train goes. I forget exactly how that goes. Yeah. Other things. A couple of other quick things is. There's still a ton of keywords you have to look up.
Yep.
Back of the rule book. Again, I wish that they would. It'd be nice for them to include extra copies of the keywords
Makes
to
sense.
pass around.
An easy player aid right there.
So
Boom.
simple. Six of them.
And then the other thing is the ridiculous estimated times on the scenario.
Gosh, they cannot get this right.
Come on, guys.
Geez.
No. The first one, the introductory scenario, says it takes 10 minutes.
10 minutes. No.
I know it's only like 2 tiles and whatever, but no, I can't even put together the board in 10 minutes.
Well, I want to say, even after knowing the game, I went back and played that introduction one again. So weren't even looking up keywords or anything, and it still was like a 20, 25-minute scenario. It's like, come on, that's best case scenario. You know the game. Like, no, give me an actual introduction. Let me know what I'm getting into and set me up. And if it says 45 minutes and only takes me 40, I'm happy. And then I'm like, yay, cool. I have 5 extra minutes to decide if I want to play again. I don't know. I was like, I'd rather them overestimate than under. It drives me nuts.
Yeah, those things are never. They just seem to not trust their audience to stick around if they tell us the real time, which is kind of weird. Anyway, so there we go. Any other things before we jump into some final thoughts?
No, I mean I like the Gatling gun too.
Gatling gun is good, yeah.
The fact it was so hard to move that thing every time. But no, yeah, I think you covered it.
All right, so let's jump into some final thoughts. Let's start with you. What do you think? What are you
Final
coming
thoughts?
down?
I like it. I think the more I played it, the higher I go. I don't think it's my favorite Zombicide, mainly because I do like the fantasy idea. I have not played Invader. That's the only one I did skip. I do
Okay,
want to play it
okay.
eventually. But people say that's great. So, but if I had to give it a number, I would give this an 8.5. I like Zombicide. I like it because it's Zombicide at its core, I think is great for gamers and non-gamers and beginner people alike, and I think this fits right in there. So if you like the theme, this is a no-brainer from me.
I'll echo a lot of what you said. I'm not quite as high. I'm going to come in at an 8 on this one. I've not played Invader either, and I think that might be my favorite, just knowing the rules, the setting, that kind of stuff. But outside of that one, this is my favorite that I've played before. I do find it more streamlined than, Black played. I find it not as challenging, I guess, or you don't feel as beat up as when you play Marvel Zombicide, And so I just feel like this one, I just feel like this one, I don't want to say is more hopeful, but it has a lot of strategy, and if you coordinate well together and build your team well, then I think that you feel like you have a chance of success, and I really like it. The rules, like we talked about the overhead, I do feel like it opens up some of that. Having the balconies, so you have somebody that doesn't have to worry about line of sight. You have somebody that's what's the one that can just do the fanning of the gun, the gunslinger,
Yeah.
And so I like being able to put that together, kind of build the team. I think this is probably my favorite of the Zombicides that I've played. I don't like that you still have to have 6 characters. I don't know why they haven't brought that down to even 4 yet. So I was really hoping they'd bring it down to 4, but even at 6, I feel like the characters are individual enough that you feel that you can specialize each one, but also similar enough that you can run multiple.
Right.
And that's a real sweet spot in this one I found. So so it's an 8 for me.
That's interesting that you say that you find this one to be one of the to be more hopeful, I guess is what you said. I think you'll probably end up liking Invader, because Invader is famously like one of the easier Zombicide games.
I do like winning.
So
Really?
you'll probably like this.
maybe.
This one is actually considered one of the harder ones.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, so anyway, I'm coming down at the same score Joey gave it. I'm also giving it an 8.5. I went back and looked. I gave Zombicide 2nd edition, which I also reviewed, an 8. I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. I had some issues with it. Tonally, I had some issues with it. I thought there were some problems there, but it cleaned up the old game so well that it got a very high score. And then I give Marvel Zombies, a Zombicide game, a 9. I think it's fantastic. It's my favorite. I'm slotting this one right in the middle, okay? This is very good. The cleaned up rules are fantastic. They need to please salvage some of these for upcoming Zombicide games. Don't go back to the drawing board if it does not need to be changed.
Right.
New noise rules, fantastic. Door management, fantastic. The spawning inside of rooms and buildings, great. I mean, they got to keep some of this stuff. So yeah, I really like it. You have to, for me to say, oh, absolutely run out and get this, you'd have to be a big Western fan. Obviously, I assume you like zombies. That's a given if you're watching this. But
You have to like zombies.
but if you are a big Western meets zombies or meets something, supernatural fan, which I am actually, I love that theme.
Yeah, me too.
Western meets vampires, Western meets zombies, whatever. I love that stuff. If you like that, I think you're gonna have a good time with this one.
I agree.
If you're not as big a fan of the Western theme, but you just like Zombicides, you might still like this one because of how clean the system is.
And that's where I fall, because Western, I have no interest in watching a Western movie or but that kind of it's not a theme on its own that I care for.
Right.
But I really do like that supernatural draw in real world kind of scenarios, situations. I feel like that's what this kind of hits. It's relatable because of the Western theme, but then brings in that supernatural. So I think even if you don't love Western, it's still worth taking a look at.
And I always like
right.
to see the new iterations because of the system progressing.
Right.
They're pretty much looking at all these people playing it and saying, what did you do different? Oh, we like that, we'll incorporate that.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
house rules, you said.
Exactly. They
Definitely.
incorporate
Incorporate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're listening, apparently. You know.
There you go. So that's it, folks. That is 8.5. That is going to be a seal of excellence for Zombicide, Undead or Alive, and that's going to do it for us today. So thanks very much for watching. My name is Z Garcia.
I'm Joey Evans.
I'm Camilla Cleghorn.
Stick 'em up, Zambi.
Pew pew pew. That wasn't like
Pew pew. I don't think they pew pew.
I missed it.
No.
Pew.
So close.